Hey, it's Adam here, and you're watching The Culture Hack, where we're talking about how to create engaged workspaces that unlock the potential of your teams and drive your business forward in ways you've never seen. So stay tuned. Today I have Dale Galbraith. He is the president of the Ideation Group, which is so many things. So Dale, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Adam. Great to be on. Appreciate it.
Fantastic. So tell me about Ideation Group.
Okay. Ideation Group was started many years ago. Family sort of business that grew into other corporations and businesses. And essentially, it's a holding company, like many are. And we've opened various entities underneath that umbrella and look to make money, right? Grow companies, make money. And sometimes that's easier than others. But through ideation, we've tried to understand the process of scaling up so that when we do get into new entities, we can scale them faster, stronger, better. We do look to, at this stage, as we've evolved, we look to try and acquire entities that are existing. It's easier than going through the startup phase, although we tend to always default back to the startup. But for the most part, we acquire or we start up, we drive, and try and get growth through the natural process of business growth and development. We tend to use a philosophy that we call AMP, which is personal to me as well: autonomy, mastery, purpose. Very similar to sort of the designs of the newer corporations that have a purpose of giving back, right? And understanding that it's not just about profit; it's about employees and health, mental health, all the way through. And of course, COVID has emphasized that, or re-emphasized it to the degree that's beyond what any of us could have imagined. So that's in a nutshell. That's what we try to do. And sometimes we're successful at it, other times we're not.
Okay, amazing. And I can tell that autonomy, mastery, purpose, it's right in your email signature. I recognize it when you said it there.
Thank you.
So,
yeah, right. Good for you.
And, you know, when you're talking about growing businesses, as you say, there's, certainly technical pieces to that, but you're dealing with people and behaviors and engagement and culture. So you acquire a business. Tell me a little bit about some of the things that happen or some of the things you do to try and engage the people that are now coming on board the Ideation Group.
Yeah, whether we're hiring new or they're existing in the entity we may have acquired, we stick to a scaling up process: people, strategy, execution, and cash. And people is the first, right? Yeah. So they don't buy into the idea of where you're going. It's really difficult to get there. As you know, you guys are in that business, right? And so start with people. Strategy is extremely important. So if we can build a strategy that resonates with the folks that are involved, either through a startup that we can say, here's where we're going with this. We need investor money. We need a specific strategy. We have to do acquisitions through the strategy. And for that, we need the people that can serve us best from that perspective. And nowadays, harder to hire than at any other time, even though there's more folks out there. So they're pickier and they require a much broader story. And we call ourselves storytellers, right? We look to tell a story when we go out and raise capital or when we go out and try and grow a company. And I don't want to emphasize we're big, we're small, really small. Some of our entities are under $1 million. So they have their own uniqueness. And if you're going to, some have been brought into the emphasis where they are just growing organically. They're mom and pop organizations and they haven't pushed past that. There's a comfort level that everybody gets to. And I think you would agree the comfort level is the kiss of death. Once you're at a comfort level, man, it is difficult to raise that bar from that perspective. So we've always found it easy to start and to bring in a certain volume of revenue. But when we have to go past that 5 to 10 employee scenario, really difficult. So our scaling past that has always proved challenging. And I continue to learn daily how best to approach that and how to get past that break point where everybody is pulling, everybody's doing the same thought process relative to the growth and the revenues.
That's fantastic. I love how you talk about storytelling, because that's how we communicate. And the story of the people that just got acquired is disrupted. So they're feeling unsure. They're not quite sure what the future is. So how much do you involve them in crafting that new story and this vision to the future?
Yeah, really good question, because everybody has a story and their stories should not be dismissed, right? Hey, how did that entity get there? Or how did that person come to be in front of us for a conversation about what a good fit they may be, right? So their story is one that has to be told and it should be listened to. And from that story, you pick nuggets, acorns, if you will, that can grow into something more beautiful. But from the perspective of a growth for a company, their story is really important. But the story that they're going to hear from the new owners, whoever they may be, is equally, if not more important. And they may be a story that matches and parallels and they can marry up, or maybe a story that just is remarkably unsimilar and can't. And so, we have to find them a better story, maybe somewhere else, or find a way that story resonates better with those individuals. But I think we start with the key people, obviously, all the way through. And I've been accused of being way too open, way too transparent, within our team. So, shut up a little bit. Don't be so obvious about where you're going. But the point of that is to open up and see if there's any cracks in that story, whether they find cracks or we find cracks. So being more transparent, I think, is way better for the situation than being tight-lipped and not really revealing all the inner workings of where you're going to get there. Because, as you know, it's very difficult, and difficulty should be spread out. It shouldn't just be on one person. If I'm going to have it difficult, I want you to know that it's difficult, but I also recognize it's difficult for you. So if we both understand those challenges, it's much easier to have a conversation, sit down, and really walk through where these difficulties can be relieved for everybody.
That's amazing. I love that. And it's hard as a leader to be that vulnerable, to have that transparency sometimes, right? You almost feel like you want to protect everybody from pieces of the truth, but you're better off sharing it so you can solve it together, right? Last question for you. When companies come on and they're part of Ideation Group, how do you bring the different entities together? Do you have a way to kind of bring everyone together to recognize that, hey, we are our individual entity, but we're also part of this greater idea called the Ideation Group?
Yeah, there's a more challenging topic, because you can be accused of being what's the word I would use? Unfocused, if you're looking at different entities, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to have a focused vision, one that is, that vision, I think, has to be top down in the early stages, where it says, here's the overall view of what we're trying to accomplish. We recognize everybody doesn't fit in there, but just so you know, here's an overall view. We're going to be doing this, this, and this. But your sole purpose, your focus, and your attitude should be here, and your attitude should be here. But we want to do, what are the synergies we can offer each other? So if we need help in certain areas, we are a team. And if one's not rowing, we are going in circles, if both sides aren't doing their rowing. And we named catch as an example, catch resources, right? We named it after the catch of a row. The row, as you put the oar in the water, the top part is called the catch. It hits the water perfectly. And that's part of the reason we called it catch, because we're catching oil, but we're also catching the team at the exact moment that paddle hits the water. And so if that one paddle isn't in quite right, we have to adjust, and we have to keep making sure that when we row synergistically, those catches are perfect. And we strive to achieve that. And again, we fail miserably sometimes and we succeed sometimes. And that's that story. There's that sweet spot. When you hit that catch, wow, spectacular when you find that rhythm. Because business to me is rhythm, and it's poetry, and it's invention, and it's storytelling, and it's revenue streams, all those things, but they all synergistically flow. So when they do hit, wow, it's pretty spectacular.
I love that. What a beautiful way to kind of end off our conversation with an amazing metaphor. And I didn't know that it was called the catch, but I totally love it.
I didn't either until I had the name, and then we were researching, where does it go with this? Because we were just catch oil, but then we stumbled, and I said, you know what? There it is. It's perfect. And there's that synergy, right? There's that synchronicity that says, oh, that's the proper name, because there it is.
I love that. I feel like we could talk about this all day.
Yes.
But for people that might be watching or listening, what kind of entities are you looking for, and how could they get a hold of you if they feel like they're a good fit?
So our newest one, which is Zami Pro, we're scaling that up, and that's that's going to create its challenges, and that's a home services, right? And we say healthy home, healthy life, happy life. So that's our tag from that perspective, and we want to now grow that. It's a service industry, it's a mature industry, but it can grow. It has some uniqueness to it. So yeah, we're looking for capital for that. We're looking for people who can join us in those regards. We may or may not franchise it. We're not quite sure on that. It's zamipro.com, www.zamipro.com. That's the one we're focusing on for our next envision of what we can grow. And if folks want to go on there and contact me, it's info@zamipro.com. Happy to talk with anyone who may have some thoughts, ideas, and could see a way that we can acquire within that realm of industry.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thanks so much for chatting with me today, Dale. I really appreciate it.
Adam, all the best, man. I really appreciate what you guys are doing, because Culture Hack, wow, it's fantastic. After we connected and I learned more about what you guys are doing, big need for that, especially when you're scaling, you're bringing on entities. So I'm sure we'll be talking more in the future.
I love that. Thanks, Dale.
Righto. Cheers.
Hey, thanks for watching the Culture Hack. Do you want to chat culture and engagement? Give us a call and come on the show.